Welcome to another edition of Biro Sports Talk. I'm your host, Biro. And as always, I'm here to bring you your sports news, sports information. So, once a week, as always, here I am, running a little late, not too much, just enough to get everything situated as normal. Welcome to another edition of Biro Sports Talk. Don't need lag. Oh my goodness, the thing. There we go. It's not working, we'll just do it that way. Alright. So, big news today, of course. Deshaun Watson coming out officially saying, hey, I want to be traded. Bradley Beal scoring 40-some points per game. Hasn't won. Basically looks like a man defeated and wants to be traded. So today, besides finishing the year right now, last week we were actually 0-2 last week as the Chiefs and the Buccaneers won. Shocker, I know. We will make our pick for the Super Bowl next week on Thursday at 7. We're going to stick with Thursday at 7. Just makes sense. Now, if you haven't looked down below here, you do have our Twitter handle, YouTube channel, Facebook page, group, and let's not forget the Twitch, Biro Sports Gaming. If I can get a consistent enough Twitch following, yes, we will go back and start doing some more games. But until then, you got me once a week. So, back at it. As I was saying, let's talk about sports. So today's sports are different from the sports that I grew up with. And that makes me sound very old, but let me stop you there. The thing I don't like is everyone wanting out. Times are hard, times are tough. People want out. We're in a world where information, in general, we want it now. We want immediate success. We don't want anything to do with failure. Now, a comparison that relates to this topic is how people like to compare Michael Jordan's early flaws in the playoffs versus a LeBron James per se. Jordan failed to get out of the first round. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in Jordan carrying that team as well. What I admired, along with a lot of others admired, is that Jordan was 6 for 6. He never lost in the finals. Obviously, LeBron has. And I still say to this day, Kobe's the closest thing you'll ever get to Michael. But Kobe was transcendent himself in his own way. So, what does all this have to do with the Deshaun Watson situation? It technically has everything to do with it, along with Bradley Beal, James Harden, and the transfer portal for colleges. Now, why do I say this? Well, the transfer portal, let's start with this, was meant to be a way for a student to get picked up, find a place to play after his degree, or face something, some harsh hardship of some sort, like racism or other reasonings. I mean, anymore, if you look at the transfer portal, it's just a way to get to a different team. Tate Martell, for one, is already looking for another team because no one's giving him a shot. And in all honesty, I don't have an issue with the transfer portal being this way, where people can just hop in and find a place where they can play. That's more what the modern version should be. But when you get to the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the fact that these trades are happening, trades that a long, long time ago would never have happened. A James Harden would never be let go in Houston. A Bradley Beal is being held onto for dear life by the Wizards, even though they can't field a championship winning team around him. A lot of people are even watching as John Wall elevates the Rockets. And they traded John Wall to the Rockets. Like I said, it's very interesting how this will play out. But here's the thing: we're in today's world, we're too much wanting immediate results. We don't. We Everyone needs a participation trophy. Everyone needs this. Everyone needs to experience success. But what people don't realize, and something that's easy to come by, is failure. So, what I mean by failure isn't necessarily you can't overcome it. A lot of people like to associate failure with not being able to overcome it. What I mean by failure is you experience hardship to elevate yourself, to better yourself in play, in life, and a number of things. So, talking about Michael Jordan, he experienced the hardships of the Celtics. The Celtics ruled the East, and then the Pistons came. And then the Pistons ruled the East for a couple of years. And then Jordan had his way. It's stuff like that where he builds himself better. He is better. Jordan was a skinny guy at first. Later on, he bulked up a little bit, but he was still thin compared to a LeBron James who's built for football. Now, the thing about LeBron is we expect him to just dominate a game 40 points, 50 points a game. And he should be capable of doing it. I do know, team. The thing I don't like LeBron is he keeps leaving. He left the Cavs twice, left the Heat. Now he's at LA. He's won a title everywhere officially, but LeBron's what's you could almost point to LeBron for what's happening. people going, demanding where they go, demanding where they end up. The lack of loyalty, as some would say. LeBron does what's good for LeBron. Let's be honest. That's what we all do. We do what's best for us. And that's fine. But to demand a trade from your team just because you weren't in the conversation, just because you weren't, just because your guy that you endorsed wasn't hired. Now, believe me, I understand this. Watson was given a 4-year, $156 million contract extension. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. We look at this. If they don't trade him and he refuses to play, they could control his rights through to 2028. To think that Watson wants out already. To no surprise, though, we're seeing other Texans support this. Sorry, former Texans support this. So you got Andre Johnson, you got DeAndre Hopkins. You got these very high caliber players backing him up. And Watson was amazing this year. The problem was the Texans still ended up 4-12. It wasn't Watson's fault. Watson's a big part why they won their games. Here's the thing with this Watson ordeal that personally I would like to see happen. I don't know how we have to do it. Let me start with that. But I would love to see Watson end up in the uniform I predicted him to be in years ago on another show, actually. Back when I was on another show, I blatantly said the Bears will choose Deshaun Watson, the proven caliber player, number 3. We traded up one spot to 2. And then we ended up with Mitchell Trubisky. I still have faith in Trubisky. I really do. I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be great. Trubisky will be a backup, and we'll always talk how he was drafted before Watson and Mahomes to just flop. But Watson could go to Chicago. That would be brilliant. I know there's a number of other teams that could easily give him more. Give the Texans more, sorry. Think about it, though. The one thing the Bears couldn't do this year is move the ball on offense. Watson's going to move the ball on offense. That's what he does. Not only does he move the ball on offense, he had, let me look, it was 33 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. That's really good. Not everyone can have like 2 or 4. Not everyone can be an Aaron Rodgers. Not everyone can be, But with that, you could convince, hey, Allen Robinson, come back and play for us. Get these other receivers in the game. Get Cole Kmet the ball. I don't. That still baffles me how he doesn't get the ball as much. Jimmy Graham could resurge again. It's fascinating that these players are starting to force themselves out. That is the main point of this topic that will take over this entire show, basically. Besides me pleading the Bears to get Deshaun Watson. But let's be honest. Players are able to demand where they want to be. They are able to actually treat their careers as jobs. And I say that because in the real world, companies expect loyalty. But ideally, if I'm not getting paid enough, I can go elsewhere. Uh, in the real world, if I'm not being treated right, I can go elsewhere. And athletes know this. Athletes have always known this. The fact that we're finally accepting that athletes have some control it's a very interesting time because I want loyalty. I want a player to be a Kobe Bryant, a Dirk Nowitzki, plays for one team their entire career. I want to I wanted Francisco Lindor to be a Cleveland Indian for the rest of his life, but Cleveland, as they always do, decided otherwise. There's so much lack of pride in your team. One great example of someone who did have pride in his team was J.J. Watt, bleeding red, white, and blue, wanting nothing but the best for the Texans, even if it meant trading himself away. And what character it took to literally walk beside your franchise quarterback and apologize. Apologize for wasting a year of his career. JJ Watt, we great respect for you. Honestly, I would love to see where Watson and JJ Watt get traded to the Bears. Trade like Robert Quinn, get Nick Foles, some picks, and get those two. That'd be great. Just saying. That would be my preferred pieces to trade away for those pieces. But I digress. So, loyalty. Loyalty, it's not missing. Let's be honest, it's not missing. There are those loyal players. It's, of course, worse in the NBA. My favorite sport, basketball. Watching the NBA do it sickens me. Where a player can just sign a short contract and then jump to a new team because my friend plays on that team. Is there anything wrong with it? No, but it's not what I want. That is literally the only reason it doesn't sit well with me is because I don't want that for sports. I'm not saying we should go back to loyalty. I'm not saying get rid of free agency. I'm not saying any of this. We are in a time where change can happen. Are you unhappy where you're at? You can be traded. You can demand a trade because your team went 4-12. You can demand to be traded because your ownership's just lacking. I will say the one team I like what they do in the NBA, the Thunder. They're competitive. They're still competitive. And they have draft picks. They traded away their big three, but they have draft picks to show for it. They have people and things to show for it. It's fascinating. It's great. They're going to be very exciting in years to come. But enough about such a serious matter. Let's get back to why you haven't followed us on Twitter, liked us on YouTube, join the Facebook page, or, watched us on Twitch. I mean, we are on all platforms trying to bring you the best sports content we can weekly right now. And by we, I mean me, because it is all about Biro. But I digress once more, because I am your host. As we close down today, it's been a year since Kobe's death. Not to this date, but this week. We've celebrated, mourned a year without Kobe. We mourn that Hank Aaron died, who some still believe is the career leader in home runs and RBIs, even though the stats show Barry Bonds in both categories. This week we also saw the Baseball Hall of Fame not elect a single person. If I had to pick the dumbest Hall of Fame, I can't say anything other than the Baseball Hall of Fame. Kenny Lofton was left off the ballots because his first year was really bad. Kenny Lofton has stats better than those that are in the Hall of Fame. Will he be a write-in candidate one year? Maybe. We'll see. Curt Schilling came out and said he would rather his name be off the writers' vote-in and be elected by peers. What about Barry Bonds? What about Roger Clemens? There's other players, but those three names, Curt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, are all right there. You have to reach 70%. They were all in the 60s. Because some people want to diminish people using steroids or associated with steroids. Bonds was great before being linked to any sort of human growth hormone. Roger Clemens was great before he was associated with it, and I can't remember why. Why Curt Schilling didn't get the numbers? Some people think he did do enough. He was a great pitcher too. Played with a bloody ankle. I tell you, the fact that Major League Baseball decided not a single person gets in, I mean, it gives you something to talk about, sure. It's just weird to not vote anyone in. I mean, you saw people get their votes up because you want to be recognized by. You want to be recognized by everyone. Come on, let's get this open. There we go. So next year, man, I gotta even gotta add myself, gotta log in, there we go. So, anyways, as I was saying, next year, Alex, oh, man, tongue tied. Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz add more drama to the ballot. Some people are. Sammy Sosa's one that isn't necessarily been getting the numbers. Because as I look, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens will be interesting. But my problem is with A-Rod and Ortiz, how can you justify A-Rod making it but not Barry Bonds? David Ortiz was also linked. Both Ortiz and A-Rod are linked to PEDs of some sort. Ortiz never failed a drug test. A-Rod famously admitted to using stuff. Yeah, I'm just reading through some of these. Sorry. It'll be interesting. A lot of people expect. So I said 70% for the vote. I think you need a little more than that. I was trying to look for it and I don't see it anywhere, but yes, you have to get 75, not 70. So, Bonds and Clemens have to jump to get in. And that's interesting. They didn't really go in depth of anything. So, I'm trying to see if I can see the actual votes. Yeah, I get that. Here we go. So here's the top players that were voted on this year for this Hall of Fame. Kurt Schilling was 71.1. He'll get in next year, more than likely. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, both at 61.8. 61.6. They would have to get a lot more votes. They would need probably about 50 more votes each, at least, to be close. Omar Vizquel I could see moving up. Scott Rowland I could see moving up. Billy Wagner, Todd Helton, Gary Sheffield, Andrew Jones, and Jeff Kent. I think all of them are possible, but we'll see. But with that, we're actually over 30 minutes for once. Thank goodness. A lot of stuff to talk about in sports. But I will see you all next Thursday at 7 p.m. See you then.